Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, this man is not only a Stanley Cup champion, and a Norris Cup champion, and a Conn Smythe champion. You're a defenseman, number 77. Victor Hedman!
All right. Thank you, Johnny B. How about some love for Johnny B and Bobby the Chief Taylor here with us to officially set off the party here tonight. Braden, how awesome is this? Bolts Block Party Live, Jai Alai putting on the party. It's awesome.
This is fun. Thanks for coming out, you guys. This is great. Thanks for Hetty.
Yeah,
wow,
so
Hetty.
what else? Are you guys surprised? I mean, come on. Victor Hedman is here. What an amazing surprise for our fans, Hetty. They had no idea you were going to be here tonight. So first, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on the block party. And this is a pretty awesome party here tonight. Again, thanks to our friends at Jai Alai. And we really haven't had a chance to sit down with you. I mean, have you even been on the block party? Was like when Girardi was doing it, or was that like 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Okay,
yeah, so I'm happy to be here for the first live one. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So let's. I mean, there's a lot of things that Braden and I want to talk to you about, our fans as well, because again, there's been so many highlights over the last, let's just say, 5 seasons. Really going back to the boat parade and the global series. We're going to talk about that, but let's start it off with the boat parade, right? So what when you think about the boat parades and you think about those days, what feelings do you get inside when you think about those moments? Think back to that.
Goosebumps. That's never in my entire life did I think I was going to win the Stanley Cup, and get the parade on the Hillsborough River was very special, and it's a lot of good memories. Killer jumping into the river during red tide,
Right.
and seeing the fans was just phenomenal. So,
Hetty, how many beers did you shotgun? Because
Yeah,
I
dude.
know I shotgunned. Let's see here.
A lot.
A lot.
at
You
the
don't
time,
have to answer that.
no, the first one, my wife was pregnant, and about a week out, so I was a little cooler. And then the second one, I actually had surgery the day after that boat parade, so I wasn't too wild, but still had a good
You
time.
weren't like Tom Brady status with the
avocado tequila?
avocado tequila
No, I did
throwing
not.
trophies.
No, I didn't do that, but Kobayashi here, he was going all out.
Yeah, we have video proof of that too, by
know.
the way, Kobe.
Yeah.
We've seen it. So speaking of the Cups, like you just said, going back, and we'll talk also about the Bolts beginning stuff, which was a fantastic job, Gabe and the crew that did that, and we'll touch on that. But looking back, right, going back to those early days, for you, was the goal to always win the Stanley Cup, or was it to be the best ever to play the game as a defenseman, or was it to be a Hall of Famer? I mean, because all three of those are, I'm sure, goals, but for you, looking back, what was the goal?
Neither, to be honest. First and foremost was to make the team, and after the first year, I was kind of second guessing myself, like, what did I get myself into? Playing against Kobe. If Kobe was in Philly, he was trying to fight me. I was like,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
He said that
Yeah.
he challenged you and you
challenged
didn't want
me.
to fight him.
No, I did
When we
not.
were brainstorming for this session, I was saying, you know what? My best Hetty story is like when I got traded here, he came right up to me right away, and he's like, "Hey, just so you know, when you asked me to fight you in Philly, I had a broken finger. That's why I couldn't fight you."
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like
so.
looking at him, and I was like, "You're a little bigger than I thought." So
No, but first and foremost was just to make this team, and to come into Tampa. When you get drafted, you have no clue where you're going, and but coming here was the best thing that could ever happen to me. And then year 2, 3, that's when you start dreaming about winning the Stanley Cup. My second year we went to the conference final, lost against Boston in Game 7, 1-0. So and then the year after that, you were like, we're going to do this again, and then we missed the playoffs. Right. So, you can't take anything for granted in this league, and, just my goal has always been to, try and improve as a player, and, now I get fortunate to, not fortunate, but, lucky to have 2 rings on my fingers and, brought 2 Stanley Cups back, and hopefully we're not done.
Heddy, it's funny because you were the 2nd overall pick, like hands down the best defenseman, in my opinion, in the draft. And it's when you say my goal was just to make the team, it's just crazy to me, all the talent you had. I think everyone that knew you and knew about your work ethic and what you were capable of knew that the levels you were going to get to. But when you first got to Tampa, were there certain guys that you really leaned on that helped you, kind of like a mentorship? And the reason I say that, I saw Corey Perry here last night, and Coop talked about Perry and about the influence he's had on different guys. But I know early on in your career, there were some guys that had that influence on you.
Yeah, Matthias Oland, for sure. He was, he gave a lot to me, and, for Tampa to bring him in to kind of mentor me from the start was huge. And, I wish he could have played longer, but his knees were in pretty bad shape. So, but then Vinny, Marty, Stammer was here. Not really a mentor at that point, but it was nice to have someone at their own age too. So, and then you had Ryan Malone, Teddy Purcell, Mike Smith, guys that are like, really good friends to this day. But, just to get in and get acclimatized or get, comfortable in this setting was Matthias Oland for sure.
Yeah.
And
so if you could go back, Heddy, and you could see 18-year-old Victor Hedman, baby-faced and all, coming to Tampa.
Bieber haircut. You had a Justin Bieber haircut, I remember.
Bieber haircut, of course. What would you tell that Victor Hedman?
Stay home for 1 more year. No. No, just, you just got to embrace everything. And, I got this question yesterday too about Connor Bedard. It's like, as an 18-year-old, what do? You're like, you know what you have as a hockey player, but it's everything around it. It's every day is going to be a grind. You're going to get to play against, superstars every single night for 82 games. And there's going to be ups and downs on the road, but you got to be all ears. And when you brought up Corey Perry, I think he's one of the best guys for Bedard to have, kind of leading the way. So, it's just being all ears. Practice is very, very important. The habits you have in practice and, looking at different guys, what they do. And, you look at a guy like Marty, that kind of pro he was, day in and day out to try to be the best every single night, started in practice. So that's what I learned very quickly is that you got to be able to, practice well to play well, pretty much.
So it's early on in the season, but you are already one of the top scoring defensemen in that category. Again, obviously very early on in the season, which is remarkable, but we're used to that by now. Do you feel that the additional month of rest for you guys this past summer was as much of a mental recharge as a physical one for all of you?
Yeah, a little bit. And, a lot has changed too on the roster, but, for us to be 3 straight finals and, you don't want to change stuff or anything, but, to get that extra month to actually work out this summer and not just focus on rehab and, nursing injuries was huge. And for myself and for everyone in that team, you kind of look at it as a blessing in disguise. And, we just early on, like you said, but, obviously last night wasn't a whole lot of fun, but, we played some really good games and we know we have all the tools to be successful.
Can we talk about your suits real quick? Because you by far, out of everybody on the team, Kobe can probably attest to this, you're by far one of the best dressed. Can you guys agree that Heddy is by far one of the best dressed on the team, right? So where did the fashion sense come from? Because that 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid that we drafted, that's not the Heddy that we see today, and the fashion sense. So who taught you the fashion sense? Is your tailor local? I mean, obviously the suit game is on point. So tell us where all that came from.
It looks a little better than the block suits I used to wear, like looking like a garbage bag.
I think those are coming back into fashion.
Are they coming back? Oh,
yeah, I think so.
I'll keep them in the closet.
I don't know, to be honest. I got in touch with Tom Marchitelli, called Gentleman's Playbook, on Instagram. He's based out of New York, so dressed a lot of the NFL guys, and then I started to get into the NHL. So I started working with him 6 or 7 years ago, and haven't looked back since. So
you elevated the game.
But now I'm getting too old, so I'm too lazy for it now. So I'm just keep reusing every suit. So
after the game, I would be like, not to sound like a creep, but I would go in there and I'd be like, I want to see Hetty try to get this suit on because when he walked in, that thing was skin tight.
Still is. Yeah, it's a little tighter now too. So, yeah.
So the Mass Mutual commercial, which we all loved, by the way, and I think it's you can clap. I mean, that was a great commercial.
One of the best hockey commercials for sure.
It was fantastic. So, but not only that, but Kucherov has been in a few commercials. He did one where he was like
Light lamp,
the ballet one, and then the one that the light one with Geico, right? And then Vazzy did one where he was in the kitchen.
What about the Moss Nissan one that we've seen lately?
The Moss Nissan one's a recent one, but. How did that even come to be? First of all, why didn't they let you use your own baby instead of a fill-in baby? Like all these questions. So, who approached you to do that? How does that whole process work to get into a commercial and with Stammer of all people?
Yeah, I know. Weird. NHLPA reached out and asked, obviously. So the year before, I think it was Ovechkin and Backstrom did it.
Okay.
And then they want to spin off with, me and Stammer. So. Yeah, didn't really know what to expect. I thought Backus and Ovis were hilarious. So, and when we were shooting this one, so I have this baby and a baby Bjorn for 4 hours.
4 hours to just stand there?
Not my baby.
Okay, now that's what I'm saying. So,
two different babies.
Okay, so they had to sub them in because there's hours. There's like child labor laws.
They can only work for 2 hours, so they had to sub the baby out. But they kind of looked like, so it was easy. But didn't really feel that funny when we shot it, but then we look at it on video. It's
great.
It was phenomenal.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be. I was supposed to be Stammer, and Stammer was supposed to be me, but it was way too many words for me, so we switched it out.
I'm just waiting for that day, like 18 years later, when that kid comes up to me and is like, "Hey, I was the baby,"
Yeah.
So is there future acting in your career here? Maybe. I mean, did you enjoy it? Did you like being on the set and that whole experience?
I like that a lot. Yeah, to be honest, and I've actually shot a few commercials back home in Sweden too. So
okay.
Yeah, something that I really enjoy doing, and yeah, maybe we can keep that going.
So if you could choose a
what kind of meatballs are you selling?
I was gonna say what I was shooting it, but with Jai Alai here, I can't really say. But
okay.
It was
Thanks to Jai
a
Alai.
Swedish brand. I can say that.
Oh, it's on the other side of the pond. So if you had to choose a movie genre, maybe that you would want to pursue, is it comedy? Is it action hero? Like where would Hetty? What lane are we going in?
I think comedy for sure.
Comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The comedian over.
I could see it. I could definitely see it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I need some help, but that would be my go-to.
We'll coach you up.
Yeah.
Not me, but
No, absolutely not. So, how many of you guys here in the crowd saw the Bolts beginning episode with Victor Hedman where he went home and the crew took it was amazing. It was very well done, and it really gave us an insight to your upbringing and to see your relationship with your dad and to go back to the rink that you grew up at. Talk to us a little bit about obviously you watching that episode and seeing that, but the relationship with your dad and your older brothers, and why didn't your brothers go pro? I mean, were you that much better than they were? I mean, so there's a lot of questions here, but talk to us about that whole experience and going back home and filming that.
No, that was very special, and I'm so proud of where I'm from, and that's home for me, and obviously I've been in Tampa half my life pretty much, but going back home is always a treat, and to have the opportunity to bring the Lightning with me, and kind of showing where I grew up, where I live now, and it's just a dream come true. And my brothers, my mom and dad, actually my oldest brother doesn't live there right now, but my second oldest brother still lives there. He was drafted actually by Washington, but never made it over, but played a boatload of games back home and played for the national team. I don't know why it was that I made it all the way, but going back to that, I'm so happy, and Gabe and those guys did such a great work.
It was amazing.
And made it look pretty good. So wasn't the best of weather we had, but I promised them I'm gonna invite them back for round 2 and make sure we have some better weather.
Something you mentioned during that episode too was the under-18 World Championships where you played against Stammer's team. Talk to us about that whole situation back then. Take us back to there.
Yeah, I think we won. So, and then we lost in under 20 in Czech World Championships. Stammer, me, I remember Tavares was there, all in cages too because we were so young. So,
wow.
But Stammer was on the fourth line. I was first D pair, so I still have that on him.
Bragging rights never die.
But he has the gold, so it's tough to explain. But Luke Sham was on that team too for Team Canada. And who else was there? Shad was in Team USA, so. But a lot of Bolts, former Bolts.
It's crazy, too, to see the paths that you guys both kind of went down the same path after that. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Eddie, I was thinking about the best defenseman that I've ever played with, and I started kind of making a list, and you're on the top.
Very nice.
Best defenseman I ever played with.
There you go. For good reason.
And then the rest of the guys started way down here. There was a huge gap, a huge gap. And one of the things I always found fascinating about just crazy talented players was their hobbies outside of hockey. And I was thinking about your hobbies, and I remember finding this out about you on the plane one day, and sat down in my seat, and you sat down in your seat, and you're kind of across the aisle for me, and you opened up your laptop, and the plane's about to take off, and then I see you on your laptop, and you're flying a plane on your laptop. You are in a full-on flight simulator.
Yeah.
In the plane,
Wait.
flying a plane on your, and then I found out that you have a huge passion for flying, and I just kind of wanted to have you talk about that a little bit.
So flying has always been number 2 on my list,
Okay.
so to speak. So hockey was one. I mean, soccer was there too, but flying airplanes was always a dream of mine, and never really got that far. But like I said, my simulator, I've had a simulator since I was probably 12, and back home at my parents' house, and then kind of evolved, and I still to this day have a simulator back here. So
Like a simulator, like you get in it and you have like the whole steering thing and the pull up and in the house.
You don't feel it like this,
right? But like in the house,
that's
okay.
But you can bring it.
It was wild.
But you can bring it with your laptop too now. But you need a really good laptop because the graphics are so good. But then actually at the end of last year, Nigel, our video coach, took me to, the JetBlue Academy in Orlando. So I actually got to fly in a real simulator, which was very cool.
How'd you do?
Well,
I was at a creative pause. Or was that?
Should I brag about this? Yeah, I probably
Yeah,
should.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The alternative is better than the alternative.
yeah, I know.
Crash
So,
and burn.
so Nigel's best friend is a pilot at JetBlue, and after our session, so we went through everything, like losing an engine on takeoff, landings in fog and stuff like that. So he actually called up his supervisor and said, like, take a look at this log. And he was like, yeah. So he went out, take a look at this log, and he was like, yeah, that's perfectly normal. Like, that's what a pilot should do.
Wow. So
But
you
he-
nailed it. So you passed
I know,
the
but
test.
that's what he said.
Okay.
He wasn't done by the pilot. He was a professional ice hockey player, so.
I used to get a kick. I would walk on the plane, and you'd be set up already, and I'd be like, Eddie, where are we going today?
Yeah.
Madrid. Oh, perfect. I can't wait. Let's go.
Yeah. But yeah, with 2 kids now, I don't get as many flight hours. But
Yeah.
So you mentioned another passion of yours. You said hockey, flying, but soccer is also a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
And some of these people might know, and I found fascinating, is that you're part owner of an English soccer team.
yeah, I used to be. Yeah, we sold. So we were for a year, but then when they got promoted to the championship, we actually sold our shares.
Okay.
So,
Cast out.
Sell high.
yeah, exactly.
Buy low,
Yeah.
sell high.
Yeah.
I like it.
But I still follow them, to this day.
Was that also in 2019? Were you still part of that back in 2019? Like Global
I was
Series?
still a part of this 2020. What year is it?
Well, the reason I would go back to
No, 23.
Okay, so the reason I go back to 2019, again, Global Series, which I was fortunate enough to be there to host that event. But going back to that and flying in and seeing the pomp and circumstance surrounding that, being that was your hometown. Obviously, it was
Not my hometown, but close.
Well, close enough, right? But
Yeah.
being Rasmus Dahlin, and it was Rasmus Dahlin and it was Victor Hedman. But I feel like he was so overshadowed by you and the homecoming and the reception that you got there. It was an exceptional experience. And again, I want to go back to that night where I think a lot of you guys say, that you bonded during that experience was that night before that first game at that sports bar, which I think you knew the owner of the sports bar, and they basically shut it down for all of us to have a beer. And I remember being in that room and watching you guys all bonding together, just to kind of see you guys enjoying just being in the company of each other. And I remember talking to Bill Wickett and saying, this is so cool that the guys get to do this when they go on the road. And Wickett's like, what do you mean? He's like, the guys never get to do this, to just let loose and just be in a group together. And then what happens? The next 2 games, you sweep it, and then we go on to win the Stanley Cup. But I remember that night afterwards when they were leaving, didn't the team win a championship and you guys went to go celebrate with the soccer team? Am I getting that right or no?
No, you're not. But
Okay, so
no,
I want to clear that
no,
up, 'cause
but
I had a couple of beers that night. I don't really drink,
but you're halfway through. Halfway through. But Djurgården won the Swedish championship in soccer. So
okay, you know those
some
guys.
of the guys. No, not really. But so we went to Larry's, which is a sports bar, and then Djurgården was celebrating at the wall, and I think a few guys went to the wall and saw all those guys. So
Okay.
I did not go. So,
Okay.
but that was the first night we got in.
Yes.
And then we had some more memorable nights, and then, like you said, we had 2 wins. So.
But what about
Most
that
important thing.
experience for you, being again that you got to go home and play obviously in front of the home crowd there in Sweden? To me, both of those games seemed like Lightning home games more than they were for the Buffalo contingency. It was so much Lightning in there. But talk to us about that whole experience for you and what that meant to you and the team to be together in your home country.
Yeah, up until that point, that was one of the highlights of my career. Getting people that never was going to see me live to go there and, just being in front of my friends and family and being able to show off Sweden to my teammates who's never been there before. So, no, that was a dream come true for me. And, to spend 4 or 5 days before we actually played was huge. Some of my favorite restaurants, just whatever the guys wanted to do, I tried to make that happen. So, no, we had a great time. Don't get me wrong. So,
A great
it was a lot
time.
of fun. Yeah.
It was fantastic. So, dad life. You obviously a dad now. How has dad life changed your perspective on your life goals? Obviously, personal accomplishments aside, but how has dad life kind of changed your perspective?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, I had my first Stanley Cup ring a week before I became a dad. So, and then, we won the second one where Ria was not even a year old, and now we have Viggo too. So, it's just a blessing, and every day is so. It makes it a lot easier. Last night, you come home this morning, Ria has no school. You just get to wake up with your kids. It's just, phenomenal feeling, and to see them grow up and how much they love each other too is just, it's just this world for me, and makes a lot so much easier. But make no mistake, we'd still take it hard, and we're still going to be better tomorrow. But just make it easier for yourself and your own mental health to to wake up with your kids and kind of forget about it.
So I think we can all agree that being a dad is one of the best things ever. And we were reading your bio. When you first started hockey, you were a goalie. And it got me thinking about goalies. And if you're either one of your kids, if they were telling, say, Dad, I want to be a goalie really bad. What do you think of that? Because I know when my son decided he wanted to be a goalie, I said, Blair, no problem. Get in net. And we just started shooting balls at him as hard as we could, trying to scare him to make sure he never went back in the net. It worked, but I'm wondering if you would try a similar strategy with your kids.
I think everyone has that as a kid. Everyone wants to be a goalie because you have the mask, you have all the pads. But yeah, like you said, I wanted to be that too. One of my brothers wanted to be, so he didn't have to skate as much. But he got out of there after one practice. So, no, I mean, just you got to try everything. Like you said, if one of them decide to be a goalie, like you said, we got to show them, this is how it's going to feel. But if they still after that decide to be a goalie, you're like, okay, good luck.
Let's be honest. Goalies have 1 or 2 screws loose. That's why I mention it. But
Yeah.
What's your best Kobe story? You have a good Kobe road story, or just anything PG-13 that you can give us about him, like maybe some.
My best Hetty story is this,
No,
and I got this.
I didn't ask you.
No, I didn't ask you.
But this one's PG. But
Okay.
I just get every time I see Hetty and every time he's laughing, I just get this picture in my head. And it was when we went to the White House, And Joe Biden was up there on the stage, and we were all sitting behind him, and he is making his speech, and he called Gary Bettman, Commissioner Bettman, he called him Gary Batman, and Hetty's on live TV, and he just can't handle it. He just breaks down in this huge smile, and he just can't hold himself together. And everyone just looks at Hetty, and they're just like, what is going on? And so every time I see that, I think of that day. It's hilarious to me. I don't know why. I had to bring that up.
Gary Batman, yeah.
Gary Batman, yeah. Lives
He's my
forever.
favorite superhero.
Yeah.
Kobe story?
Yeah.
There's a lot, but hockey related.
Hockey related.
Detroit, Joe Louis Arena. I'm not playing the game. Kobe's out there. So Kobe's tough as nails, right?
Yeah.
He blocks a shot. I don't know where it got to. I think it was inside the knee.
A little higher, yeah.
A little higher, yeah. So Kobe doesn't take no for an answer. So even though guys are saying like, "How do you feel? How do you feel?" So I'm in the training room, and I hear Kobe come in, and he's talking to himself. He's not talking to himself. He's screaming to himself. He said, "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt." So he's trying to tell himself that it doesn't hurt, but I don't think you came back that game. Did you?
I definitely came back.
Oh,
yeah.
did you? Yeah.
That's
But-
how Hetty remembers it.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
convinced
God.
myself.
Yeah, I still have nightmares about that. Like, who's this guy talking to?
I know, right?
He was talking to himself.
So
So
the goalie's got screw looses. I think it's.
I get animated. Yeah, self-talk. It helps, really.
Yeah, it sure
trust me,
does, yeah.
Self-talk.
All right, so we have before we get to Fact or Fiction, presented by Jai Alai, we do have a couple questions from the crowd. Janet in the crowd wanted to know: has a coach or another player ever messed with your pregame ritual or superstition? And if so, how did you recover from that?
ooh, Killer always tried to mess me up.
Okay.
Yeah, because he didn't have anything by himself. So, so he tried to get in there.
Okay.
But didn't really do too much. That kind of became his routine. So we kind of implemented into my routine. So. To make him feel special.
Way to
so.
combat that.
There's some superstitious guys, like Eddie. Let's be honest, like
100%.
there's some guys that you're just like, okay, like I don't want to step on Stammer's part here, and
Yeah.
Mikey, the athletic trainer, and Hetty's stuff. There's a lot of stuff to remember.
Yeah, it is. And Mikey does a great job of remembering.
Yeah.
Because he has stuff with pretty much every single guy. Sure. So,
I remember Mikey coming in, and before every game, he was taping your wrists. And I asked somebody, is something wrong with Hetty's wrist? And he's like, yeah, like 2 years ago, he hurt his wrist, and he had a good game, and they've just been keep taping his wrist every game since.
no, but the funny part, we still do it, but it doesn't tape my wrist anymore.
It just puts tape on your
No,
on your
so you
arm.
go like this. So you put your hand like this, and then you tape your wrist. But now he has no tape.
Okay.
Fake tape. I love it.
We still do it to this day. So
All right.
Imaginary tape. I
Yes.
love it.
Whatever works. Whatever works.
Helps the budget out.
It was a really good game, though. 8 years ago.
Simon wants to know how has hockey changed your life and why?
Well, it's always been my life from age of 5, but being back home, I never thought I would meet Braden Coburn. I watched him as a 14, 15-year-old, and now you kind of became friends and get to play on the same team, win a cup together. Just stuff like that. Like, you never know where life is going to take you.
Sure.
And I met so many great people and great friends that I never in my life thought that I was gonna be able to call my friend. They were my idols and guys that I looked up to. So it's just changed me for the better. Tampa has changed me for the better. So I'm just super glad and proud that I want to be a bold for life, but we'll see where it takes me. But hockey's made me a great person.
There's one more question. This question's from
Here we go.
Braden. So you talked about friendship, and I was wondering, what would Victor Hedman's life be like without Steven Stamkos?
Oh, good question.
Great question.
Yeah,
Can't think about life without Stammer, huh?
I can't. No. he's my second wife. So
I know. It's work.
yeah.
There's
No.
a work wife. Right.
But like I said, we've been together since I was 18.
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell him that, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
He'll find out.
Or he already knows.
He knows.
He knows. He knows. Yeah.
He wears the ring on the other finger, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
The
but
second
just
wife finger.
Stammer and me, good times, bad times.
Yeah.
Always been there for one another. We can, we're, I would say 99% of the time, on the same side. But, we've had our moments too.
Sure.
And like every marriage.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen some of those bickers. It's like two old married couple. They're just like back and forth, and Hetty
Yeah.
going at him, and Stammer's not giving ground up. It's kind of it's entertaining.
yeah.
That should be an episode of the Block Party.
Yeah,
Just
right.
you guys,
Just a little
you guys just arguing.
Yeah, I know. We can probably, do 45 minutes of that. So.
All right.
But no, Stammer, by far, the closest and best friend I've had on this team, and we're still going, so that's a good sign.
Still rocking.
Yeah.
All right. So I want you to ask him the Swedish question about best Swedish player before we get into the highlight, because I thought that was a great question.
Yeah. So Hetty, you are going to go down in history as one of the greatest Swedish defensemen of all time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there a guy you look up to, a Swedish defenseman you look up to, and that you want to surpass, or that you think is the greatest? I know what the answer is, but I just kind of want to hear from you.
Yeah, the greatest, obviously, Nick Lidstrom, Boris Salming.
How does it feel, though? You're in
No,
the
I'm
same
not.
class
No,
as
I'm
those
not.
guys.
No,
I know
I'm
you're going to be humble. It's just the way you are, but
Yeah.
you've cemented yourself with your resume, with your cups, with your play, and your longevity. You've been in the league a long time now. It's happening for you.
Two-time Stanley Cup champ, four-time NHL All-Star, Norris Trophy, and Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Right there. Boom, bang, bang, bang. That's Hall of Fame right there. It's Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think about it that way, but yeah.
Of course. Humble pie up here, guys. Humble pie. All right. So before we wrap up, you guys know we have to do our fact or fiction presented by our friends at Jai Alai. These are pretty much cut and dry here. It's either true or it's not true. All right? We'll start it off. Both of your children are named after famous soccer players. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Not. So who are they named after?
Well, one is a soccer player, one is an actor.
Okay, so Rio, right?
Yeah.
And
Vigo.
Vigo. Vigo, which is named after?
I mean, not really, but Viggo Mortensen.
Okay.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. But it's not really from there, but
Okay.
common Swedish name.
All right, so that one is fiction. All right. When you were a draft prospect, a former GM had you come do a pre-draft workout with two other players, which was Tavares and Duchess, and it was super awkward and weird.
I would say true.
That was a fact.
Yeah,
You
that's a
remember
fact. Yeah.
You remember that day?
Yeah, I was here.
What was weird about it? The fact that you're like, what are we doing here? Like, why is this happening? That's kind of an unusual circumstance. That GM is no longer here, by the way. That's why we said a former GM.
Yeah, I didn't know that it even existed before going. So. Then all of a sudden you got a call to Tampa, and the former owners were here and took us out to dinner, which was very nice.
Sure.
It's a nice experience, but I didn't know that was kind of part of the
A
process.
little weird,
but-
right?
A little bit weird. That whole
I'm super
pre-draft
happy I'm
fitness
here.
testing thing is like the weirdest thing ever. And I know I'm kind of
Yeah.
diverging from our fact and fiction, but I just thought of this story and I thought it was funny. But we're doing the pre-draft combine in Toronto, and they have all these different exercises they're doing, and one of them is the Wingate test on the bike. So the guy that was on the bike right before me, he's going, and I could just see his face, all the colors leaving his face. And as he's on the bike, he barfs all over the bike. And I'm up next, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh boy. And this guy runs out, he's got a little mop, and he cleans off the bike, and they're like, you're up, kid. And the whole time I'm on the bike, I'm just like, I can't breathe. Like, it's just, the smell is just so bad. But to get to Hetty's point, it's such an awkward experience going through all this fitness testing, the pre-draft stuff, the
Yeah.
meetings, and all the answers. It's kind of crazy, but it's a unique experience.
It
and-
is, yeah. Exactly.
Okay, there we go. So
Yeah.
that one is.
Hey, it wouldn't be a
fact.
podcast without some kind of gross
Gross
stuff
story.
coming
Kinda
out of my
barf,
mouth like
yeah.
that.
Thank you for Franz, by the way, for setting that one up. All right, Surströmming, which is canned fermented herring, is one of your favorite delicacies to enjoy from the old homeland.
Fiction.
He hates it, right?
Yeah, I hate it.
Stinks. It's disgusting. Why is that such a delicacy? If it's so good, it's disgusting and smells so bad.
I mean, I think it is. There's a lot of people that think it's delicious.
Okay.
But,
Obviously.
Everyone has their own palate, and
It's not yours.
I wish I can bring a can in right now and open it up and see what people think.
It'd be gone. Everybody would clear out with
Yes.
the quickness. Okay.
No fitness bikes around here.
Just go on YouTube and search for that. And
Surströmming. Did I say it right?
Surströmming.
Surströmming. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, when filming your episode of Bolt's Beginnings, the Lightning's social media manager almost crashed your boat.
That is very true.
What happened there?
So I was untying my boat. The engines were running, and I have two doors on the side. One by, kind of where I sit and, navigate the boat, and
Sure.
one on the other side. And she was leaning out to take a picture of me untying the boat, and I think her life jacket, kind of hit the throttles, so pushed them up, and the boat kind of went. Vroom. But good thing I was still tied down. Otherwise,
Okay. That would've been bad.
Would have been expensive for the Lightning.
That would have made good TV,
That would
though.
have been awesome because they were probably filming the whole time. That would have been great. All right, so that is a fact. Okay. This one came from Kobe. Bubba is missing a finger from your previous pregame ritual.
No.
That's
fiction.
That's
Yeah.
fiction. That's the one where you do the
I
whole...
never hit his finger.
Never once?
Yeah, maybe a couple of times.
Okay, I was
but
going to say.
not too hard.
I always just thought about like seeing you guys doing it and coming up behind you and just kind of, oh, sorry, buddy.
Oh, my God. Blood on the ice. Okay.
Yeah.
You are more superstitious than Stammer. Fact or
Sure.
fiction?
Fact.
You are more superstitious.
Yeah.
So, like, the game day ritual has to be the same thing? I mean, like, what are some of your...
No, I change if we lose a little bit, but
Okay.
I keep doing the same things, but there's a little tweaks if we lose.
Do you eat the same pregame meal every day? Like, is that... Or not so much like...
Not really,
Yeah.
but it's more when I get to the rink at 4 o'clock. That's when it starts.
I remember going on the road and you getting like super mad, being like, you ate with us last time. You got to come again. And I'm like, I got family in town. And he's like, well, tell him to beat it.
Okay.
That has gone away now when I have family by myself. So when you have kids, you get away from that.
Our final fact or fiction presented by Highlight. Jeff Halpern's porch is named after you.
He's what?
This is another one that...
This is-
Jeff,
this
hold
is-
on. Jeff Halpern's porch is named after you.
I have no clue.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a
That's
It is
fact.
true?
It's a
That's
fact.
Can't wait to bring that up
Bring
tomorrow.
that one up.
Helpy with the money that we got from our playoff bonuses after you were just a dominant force in your Conn Smythe performance.
Right.
Helpy, in your honor, named his porch that he built after our win at his house after.
So what's it
Victor
called?
Hedman. It's Hetty's porch.
We're always dropping gems on
Why
our,
have I never heard this?
well, now you know. So you can ask Helpy tomorrow or whenever you see him. You can ask him about the porch. So.
I'll see him tomorrow.
You'll drop off a plaque.
Anyways, guys, we have to wrap it up, but can we get an amazing round of applause for Victor Hedman for being here on the Bolts Block Party Live, presented by Jai Alai Hetty. We thank you so much. We have a giveaway. We're going to give something away here. Okay, how are we giving this? You got to sign that. So we're going to do a live signature here. I guess we're going to give this away. We got sticks like just for you guys being here. I don't know how we're going to give these away, but Hetty's going to sign them, and we'll give them away here in a few.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned it before, but I really want to throw out a huge thank you to Victor. This is not probably something he was maybe not in the superstitious category of things he does the night before a game. So very, very special treat for us, and thank you
Yes.
for making the time. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
We really do. Thank you so much. Appreciate our Lightning Vision crew for putting this whole shindig together. Thank you to the Cigar City Tap Room as well, our friends at Jai Alai, and all of you, the Bolts Nation. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here for our Bolts Block Party Live. Greg Wolf, Braden Coburn, Victor Hedman, and we will see you guys soon for another episode of the Block Party.